What is good, everybody? My name is Tatro here today with BandLab, and today we're going to talk all about automation, which is a very useful tool in your productions that you can use to sort of change effects and parameters over time. If we listen to this little lo-fi beat that I've been making, let's say I wanted to automate the drum volume or something. I needed the drums to get louder in a certain part and softer in another part. Well, instead of me sitting here playing with this slider manually in real time, I can actually automate the volume slider and a bunch of other parameters like parameters for our effects in BandLab. And I'm just going to draw this shape across the loop. Let's listen back to this. I'm happy to report now that automation is free for all BandLab users. So whether you're working on desktop or on mobile, I still think this tutorial will be helpful. Let's dive right in. Alright, so in this little project, I've already actually implemented some automation. If we listen back to this vocal, actually, you can hear how it sort of fades up with time, and it starts sort of moving across the stereo field via a tremolo effect. And if I toggle the automation view on with this little button here, the two nodes and a line, just toggle that on, I can start to see here some automation. But you can see I've drawn some lines, some triangles. And what you can also see here is now a little drop-down menu has appeared with an X. If I hit X, I go out of the automation view. If I want to go back to it, I just click the little automation button here again. So I can see all the automation that I've programmed in my track. If I go down to the next track, you can see more lines have been drawn here as well. But let's go back up to the first one, and I just want to show you this drop-down menu. This drop-down menu is going to show us everything that we can automate. So we can automate the volume. We can automate the panning. And you will also see all the effects that I have on this track. My Space Maker reverb, the digicomp, the dual octaver, which is giving it that really low note resonance, and the tremolo. If you notice that some of these effects have blue dots next to them, that's because those effects have automation on them. And if I select one like the tremolo, it will show me a list of parameters that can be automated in the tremolo because there are multiple parameters in that effect. But I've automated the depth. And you can see here, that's where I've drawn in those triangles. So the result is this sound that moves and changes over time. But let's slow things down, let's take it nice and simple, and let's apply some automation to something in the project that doesn't already have it. During the intro of this track, the shaker enters with the piano. It's a very quiet intro. What I'd like to do is actually filter the shaker in so it doesn't come in right away with all of those high frequencies. So I'll open up the mixer, make sure I'm on my shaker track, and then go to FX. If I look at the effects currently on here, I already have a graphic EQ that I'm using to just shape the sound, but I'm going to add another actually easy EQ, EZ EQ, which is a really easy way to just filter in low or high frequencies. We have a high pass filter and a low pass filter. So if I solo the shaker here, and I go to our effects, if I dial down this low pass, it's very quiet, but I can fade that filter in over time. Slightly different than just fading in the volume. So now I'm going to turn on our automation view with the shaker track selected. And I have the drop-down menu here again, just like before, and I'm going to find Easy EQ. And the parameter that I want to automate is the low pass. So I'm going to click low pass, and now I get this line here. There's been no automation done on the low pass. The low pass is just turned all the way up. So if I want it to fade in over time, I just have to draw some dots by tapping on the line. When I draw these dots, I can move them, and they are sort of like in a relationship between each other. And then I can start to draw shapes. If I want to get rid of one of these dots or one of these nodes, I can double tap it and it will go away. The cool thing about this too is usually if I hover on the dot or if I hold it, it will tell us the exact value of that parameter that we're adjusting. So you can see as I move this node up and down, the hertz of the low pass filter is being represented. And as I bring it down, the numbers go down. So I want us to start from a very low number to going to a very high number, pretty much the max. So I'll draw 2 nodes and I'll draw just a very simple slope from bottom to top. Now, if I have this filter down so low, we're not really going to hear anything, and I still want there to be a hint of shaker. So I'm going to bring the frequency of our lowest node up a bit here so we can still hear it a little bit. Here, let's hear back. It's very faint coming in at first, but we're going to hear over time the shaker filtering in till we have all of the high frequencies. This is very useful for, say, the intro of a track. Of course, you could be even more extreme. Let's put these nodes very close to each other and see how that sounds. Even closer. You've probably heard that in a million different songs on a million different types of instruments. But there we go. We've done low pass automation here on our shaker. And if we listen to that in context of the intro of this very cozy lo-fi track, if we look at the effects, we can actually see the low pass on the easy EQ moving in real time right along with our automation, because that's what it's doing. In the background, it's just turning that knob or doing that slider for you. It's automated. Let's do something a little more creative and let's apply some reverb automation on the drums. You can hear that snare or rim shot. It's very dry. What if I wanted just one of those little snares to have a reverb on it? We can use automation for that. Let me show you how. So let's go to this section where we have full drums and percussion. I've got this percussion track here. What I'd like to do is emphasize a beat with some reverb. So let me show you what I mean. If I go to the effects, let's add a reverb on top of the delay and the EQ that are already here. I'm just going to add the studio reverb. Now, as I hit play, you can hear that there's reverb on the whole loop, right? Like I said, I really just want to emphasize a single beat like this. And in fact, I think what I'm going to do is rearrange these and put the reverb first so that the reverb is actually caught by the delay. Nothing to do with automation, that's just a little creative choice. Press play again. I like that rhythmic sound. Of course, I don't want to have to sit here and do that slider manually, so let's automate it. So again, we're going to go into our automation view. We're going to use the drop-down menu to find the studio reverb. And remember that we're going to be adjusting the mix of the studio reverb for this particular effect. Now I'm going to want to zoom in here because I want to be pretty precise with what notes or what beat that I emphasize with the reverb. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like I'm going to be doing this on beats 2 and 4. So I'm going to have to draw a bit of a triangle shape, almost similar to what we were doing on the vocal with all the crazy effects over there. So I've drawn 3 nodes here. I want to make sure I'm on 0% before this snare hit. I'm going to go all the way up to 100% right when that snare comes in. And then I'm going to pull right back down before the next percussion hit. Let's go back to the beginning and listen back. And I could have that be less extreme. I could bring that down from 100%. And the effect is still there. So why don't we do that on beat 2 across this percussion track? It's actually easier if I do it with my finger than with the Apple Pencil for some reason. Here, bring it down. And I'm just going to draw this shape across the loop. I won't make you sit here and watch me do it several times, but I think you get the picture. Let's listen back to this. Nice, I like that. Let's hear it in context with the rest of the beat. And like I said, you can do this with any effect and any parameter within that effect, so feel free to get creative. One also useful thing about the way automation works in BandLab is that, let's say I wanted to now copy this clip, which of course has automation on it. If I copy the clip and I go down my timeline, and let's just find a space to drop it, to paste it in. When I paste it in, go to the automation view, we've actually brought that automation with us. So that's very, very useful. You don't have to do it over and over again for the different parts of your song. One thing to also take note of is if you look at the icon for each track, you might notice that same automation icon on some of these tracks. And that of course indicates that those tracks have automation on them. So you can quickly see at a glance which of your tracks have automated effects. So with all that in mind, now that you know how that works, let's go back to that vocal sample with all the crazy automation. You can see the space maker, that reverb is changing over time. The compressor is not being automated. The octaver, the mix of the octaver is being automated over time. And the tremolo, the depth is being automated over time. You'll notice if I try to move a parameter that is being automated, I'm not able to move it here on this effects screen, and it gives us a warning that says this parameter is automated. So if you want to make changes to that, you need to go ahead and do that in the actual automation lanes right here. So whether you're going to do something simple like some volume automation or some filtering, or you want to get creative with fun effects like delay, reverb, you can have a lot of fun with automation. And I think automation is actually a big part of what makes music sound a little less amateur if done right. There's a lot more going on in the music you love than just the pure musical ideas. There's lots of meticulous sound design, and a lot of that is achieved via automation. So go ahead and take your tracks to the next level. Go add some automation now. My name is Tedro here with BandLab. Thanks for watching.